next storyteller is Jill Sandmire. She's the co-founder of Babes Moto Lounge, a lounging garage for those who identify as Moto Babes. They do some cool shit, like host rides, workshops, gear exchanges, and other activities that help to promote riding and educate more women who want to get into riding motorcycles. But Jill's talents don't end at building a motorcycle community. She's been an actor and producer in Chicago for 15 years. She's been riding for 7 years, and this year, she rode to Washington, D.C. to raise funds for women's rights. Please welcome a most inspirational rider, Jill Sandmire.
What's up, misfits, fuck-ups, motorcycle enthusiasts, and those who love motorcycle enthusiasts? I'm Jill. Hey, thank you to the Hideout for hosting and for BlahBlahBlah Motorcycles for this event. This is so cool. I'm laughing my ass off. I'm crying a little bit. I'm having a really good time. So,
when I started riding, there were so many firsts. First motorcycle purchase. We've talked about that tonight. First time riding on the actual streets and not a parking lot or alleyway. First time dropping the bike. First time putting gas in it.
that was a mystery to me. I was like, what would I do? I don't know. First time getting harassed at a gas station.
Oh my God, girl, you're so hot on that bike.
Okay. Thanks, I think. First time running out of gas on the freeway. It's good times. Getting in an actual wreck. First pipe burn. Oh my God, those suck. First oil change and getting your hair stuck in the pan of old oil. That's really fun. It's good times. And the first time getting caught in the rain, completely unprepared. And your first breakdown, your first group ride. I could go on and on and on. When I first started riding, the only people I knew at the time who also rode were mostly men.
Actually, they were all men.
And despite having begged them to teach me how to ride, they always managed to settle with me on the back, and I hated this. I wanted to be in the front seat. I wanted to be in control for myself. So for the first year with my first bike and my first group rides, it was all completely composed of 4 or 5 dudes and then me.
While I'm very grateful for those experiences, I noticed there was something I didn't like about it. There was just like a certain level of like, I don't know,
dick measuring that happens in group rides. Speeding down the streets, making dangerous moves, not looking where they're going. I don't know, there was just something about it that I didn't really like. Like, for example, there's this guy that I rode with frequently, and I had a Honda 250 Rebel. Good first bike. Anybody who's looking to get into riding. It was a great first bike, but it's a little engine, you know? You're in 5th gear and you're screaming at 75 miles an hour. So, yeah, it rides a little different than your 1500cc Harley Softail, okay?
He's trying to tell me how to shift this bike, and I'm like, dude, they're totally different bikes. Also, you've never ridden my bike, so don't tell me how to, don't do that. Don't tell me how to don't mansplain to me how to ride my bike.
There were a lot of experiences that made me feel a little insecure about riding with a whole group of dudes. And I had to find a different way of riding or getting to know this community. And I knew out there in the world that there were other women riders who rode motorcycles like me. And one time I was riding in Lakeview and I saw this woman rider. She had these really long dreads. She was covered in tattoos and she was riding this giant Harley despite being this really tiny woman. And here I was standing in awe, waving like a child in a parade on the sidelines. She was amazing. So then finally I decided I was gonna try and talk to these women, you know, instead of being intimidated by them. And I went to Tarnish, and at the time they were hosting
this is around 2016. It was about a year after I've gotten my M-Class license and purchased my first bike. So I checked them out, and they were promoting this photography show. It's called Women and Wheels. It was in Logan Square, and it was just around the corner from where I lived. And lo and behold, the show was that night.
So, what do? Slap on my helmet, put on my leather moto jacket, and I scooted on over to this photography show. Turns out, it was this awesome artist and photographer, Sarah Vaughn, and it was all of her work, and everything was like all set up in the studio, and it was everything I dreamed of. It was giant prints of these amazing badass women, all of them on motorcycles, and I was amazed by all these beautiful, empowered women, and it was everything I wanted to be. I wanted to be them. I wanted to know them. I was so intrigued, but I was also kind of shy. So I barely spoke to them, surprisingly, I know, for people who know me. I was like actually shy.
Yeah, so I just picked up this little flyer that was there at the photography show. And it was called Babes in Moto Land.
And it was coming up. It was in a couple of weeks, and it was a camp and ride type situation, and I didn't have a tent or anything really set up for, like, how am I gonna get all this camping stuff on a motorcycle and like ride out, like how do people do that? Like the concept was beyond me at the time. But I did have a hammock, and I had bought those like really cheesy, fringy, like saddlebags for this Honda Rebel. It was cute. And I packed everything up, and it took forever. I had no idea what I was doing. Packing a bike for the first time is very a daunting task. You're sitting there. What's gonna fit? Oh my gosh, I don't know what to take. What's gonna be there? Where am I gonna hang my hammock? All of those things, and I had to prepare my kit. So I spent the couple of weeks, and I was just like, what do I need to bring? All the unknowns, would they even like me? Would they accept me? Or would they make fun of me and my little bike, like those dudes that I rode with? Or my shifting style, or the fringe on my saddlebags, or literally everything that I did. Anyway, they passed quickly, and I got my bike packed, and I was ready. I was doing this thing. I was moto camping somewhere in Illinois. I was just nervous that everything would go flying off of my bike down the road as I was riding. But I got everything tightened down, balanced out, and I hit the road. It was a Friday, and the clouds opened up and rained upon me. Now, one thing about this Honda Rebel that I had, I thought it would look really cool with a big front tire. So I took the front fairing off. I took the front fender off. I thought that looked really cool. It did look pretty cool. However, when you don't have a front fender on your bike and it rains, it will rooster tail right into your helmet, right up, all up in your face, okay? So don't do that. Just note to self. And I couldn't see anything, so I turned around. I went home and cried a little. The next day was gorgeous. I got up really early, and I hit the road, and it was beautiful. I was riding down long stretches of cornfields and cows, and cornfields and cows, and cornfields and cows, and the occasional pony, goat, or llama as well. I was doing it. I was going on my first moto camping ride. I was riding 150 miles from my home on a 250cc Honda Rebel, and it was all by myself. And that was my first moto camping trip. When I pulled up, it was the second day of the moto camping trip, and there was just a sprinkle of women in the giant parking lot of what looked like an abandoned restaurant. There was a small table, and someone was hanging out at it. It was this really slim gal covered in tattoos with long dreads. it was that girl. It was the girl in Lakeview that I saw. That I was, in awe. I couldn't believe it. She introduced herself to me. She was super nice. Her name's Gianna. And I let her know that I wanted to check in. She handed me a bag full of Moto goodies and took me to like this bus that was turned into showers in the like back of this like abandoned restaurant. It was pretty epic. And I thanked her and looked around, and there were tents set up, and it was just this wide open field of grass. I had nowhere to put my hammock. So when I went to the restroom, there was this lower part of the restaurant, and there were these poles, like these support beams everywhere. So I stuck my hammock inside where the bathrooms were, like off to the side in between these poles, and it worked. So that night, as the sun started to set and the bikes and the babes began to roll in, entire groups of women riders pulled in and parked their bikes. And by the time the sun had set, the lot was full of bikes, over 100 motorcycles, and every single one of them was piloted by a woman rider. We played Moto games, which I didn't even know was a thing at the time. And we sat around the campfire, and I started to chat with some of the ladies there. And I was telling them that I rode up here by myself, and they just couldn't have that. They insisted that I ride back with them the next day, immediately accepting me into the fold. That was when I had my first group ride with all women riders, and I met some of my best friends to this day. I'd finally found my tribe. Is our next storyteller. And he's always had a